This is Hiroshige, Japanese woodcut artist. And this one very, very clearly is using atmospheric perspective. This is a super good example of atmospheric perspective. And you can see how it, this and the sky, the colors are converging as it gets further away. And so this is more saturated. This is less saturated. We can have that. I want to look at it like this as well. You can see it in grayscale. There's much darker values. There's much more contrast here than there is back here. And actually, this background, when I get rid of the color, the saturation, it doesn't really change at all, does it? So it's basically becomes gray in the back here. There is some 2-point perspective going on in here as well. See it with the bridge. So these lines will go that way, and these will go this way on the posts. But it's very, very subtle. It's not a big part at all. It's just a little hint of it. Let's say relative detail. Also scale. Obviously, these figures are bigger than this figure. Overlap. Right. They're in front of this. This is in front of this. In front of that. And beautiful lost edges. Let's see. Edges. The lost edges like here, right? Maybe down here. Yeah, this is a really, really beautiful piece. Really good example. Nice softness. And yeah, almost. To me, this is kind of a revelation, right? Because it looks... Let's color pick. I wanted to do some color picking too. This looks like it has blue in it, but let's find out. Yeah, no, this is just gray. This is here. Foreground. And we get this kind of intermediate. And it's almost white in the background. Very minimal. Our eye tricking us to think the gray's blue. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I'm really surprised that that's totally gray. I was pretty convinced that that was blue. Until this. The mountains behind the foreground trees almost disappear. Oh yeah, crochet, you're right. I hadn't even seen that. Here, right? Just make it out. Wow. I wonder if... I think, so we say it every single time that all of these artists we've looked at, it has to be intentional what they do, right? And I bet if we got rid of this, the composition would be worse. Yeah, I'd say so. What do you guys think? That subtle little bit back there, it really helps out. Definitely makes a difference. Required for balance. Yeah, and we didn't even notice it, right? It's such a minor thing. Man, that's amazing. It also makes a weird tangent too, right? Like, this kind of matches up with this too closely. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Good work, Hiroshige. I guess that's why we still know who they are. I think it reinforces the artist's forced perspective, and it works. Yeah, I think it does. And it's an interesting choice too to make it the same value as this here. It gives us I mean, I guess we are working with a foreground, middle ground, background, right? We're working with these figures would be the foreground, and then the middle ground would be this. Then the background would be here. So there are three kind of planes. So keeping this on the same plane as that, it still works compositionally, and it's good simplification. Here, thick versus thin lines. This is just lines versus no lines, which I think is a variation on that, right? So here we have a holding line for these figures, and here it's just the shape. So that's another way of achieving that. I don't think warm versus cool is used here. I mean, I guess relative... What, this would be like a relative warm, right? But I'm not sure if that's really applicable, because we have all these cool shapes here. This is warm too, but... I guess the... I would group this text in with the foreground. I would consider that in front of these trees, even though there's not really an overlap. The use of black here and in the figures, to me, connects these on the same plane. So I think this would be a foreground element. This is kind of like this same kind of similar line and some same kind of color. There's no line in the middle ground. Instead of warm versus cool to enforce perspective, he's doing it to emphasize the people in the foreground. Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. More as a focal point, right, rather than a perspective. Yeah, that is a very good point. Even the I think this is probably the most saturated thing. We have here versus that. It's actually the same. Saturation is the same. All right, let's move to the next example.